Hi everyone, it's Tuesday night, it's winning, it's live, online, same time, same place, different content tonight. Hope you've all had an incredible week. I've just had such a sense this week of really wanting to just draw closer to God. It's just, how can I be where you are? You know, so often in our lives, it's like we want God to be where we are. It's like, Lord, this is what I'm trusting you for. Come into my space. And, you know, how often do we really just long to be where he is, to take his lead and follow him to where he is leading us, instead of us leading him. And one of my really special places where I kind of feel really connected to the Lord is when I go to the Dalebrook Tidal Pool in St. James, and it's such a beautiful space. I always go with special people, which makes a difference. And then just being in the water, even though it's freezing, but just being in that space where generally I go when there's a sunrise, and you've got the sunrise and you've got the water and you've just got the ocean. And it's like, I just feel so connected to the Lord. I just want to be where he is. And then I was just looking at my border collie, Sammy, who really captures that so beautifully. Whenever any of us are at home, she will attach herself to one person, and then literally she's like a shadow. She'll follow us wherever we go. I mean, if we get up, she's there behind us. And she just wants to be where we are, because she's just, you know, we are her people. And I guess I've just had a sense, a real deep sense of that this week. Lord, I just want to be where you are. I want to hear your voice. I want to have a strong sense of your direction. I want to tangibly feel you with me every part of the day. And you know what? As we hunger and thirst for those things, God will meet and exceed our expectation. So I just wanted to share that with you tonight. That's not the topic of what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to be doing something called The Menace of Misunderstanding. And for the last 4 weeks, we've done a series on the Holy Spirit. But for the month of July, I wanted to do just standalone, kind of like pop-up messages that each has its own complete content. Nothing's connected. And I've really chosen things that, again, as always, will be challenging, will be encouraging, but ultimately will be quite practical in application. Good to see so many you've joined. Tracy, Linda, Ronica, Zama, welcome. Good to have you as always, and everyone else who's joined. So glad that you're carving out time just for you. As I always say to you every Tuesday, this is our time. It's you and it's me and it's Jesus. So as always, lean in. If you're new to this platform, my name is Debbie. I'm the lead pastor of Authentic City Church in Kenilworth. As always, great church, great people, awesome things happening in our church. Has to be, hey, because where God is, it can only but be awesome. And so tonight, as we lean into the menace of misunderstanding, maybe this message is just what you needed to hear tonight, or maybe it's something that someone you know needs to hear. So you're either leaning in to get something for you, or you're leaning in to get something for someone else. Either way, walk away with something. Don't forget to comment and send out your emojis. Share if you feel at the end of this it's really going to benefit someone. And let's maybe kick off with a couple of questions. Have you ever said something that you thought was kind? You said something that you thought was helpful, said something that maybe was a compliment, but somehow it didn't land that way with the person you gave it to. So your intention was so right, but the impression it left on the person was so wrong. It's like, maybe you've said something that was taken out of context. For example, if you say to someone, "Oh, you're looking really amazing today," and then the person takes it out of context and says, "Well, are you implying that every other day I look rubbish?" Have you ever had those moments where it's like, "Oh my word, I just didn't mean it like that at all." And, maybe you said something or you made a suggestion in kind and it like totally backfired. What you said to maybe be helpful backfired, and now it's become an issue. Being misunderstood it's hurtful for the person who's spoken, and it's also hurtful for the person receiving what's been said. But how often do misunderstandings happen? And if you think about it, friends can disintegrate and lose their friendship over misunderstandings. Marriages go through strain where there's misunderstandings. There's misunderstandings in politics, in the classroom, misunderstanding in people's homes. Misunderstandings are definitely a menace. And so my border collie's actually in the cupboard and she's helping herself to her treats. I'm so sorry for the distraction. I could just hear her rummaging in her box of treats. We can't have that. So sorry about that. So if we look at misunderstandings, I guess misunderstandings are a breeding ground for assumptions. You can misunderstand the tone of someone's WhatsApp message. Hey, they can send out a message and you can think, well, that person is being very hostile with their message, the tone of their message. Meantime, they're not actually hostile. Maybe you're in a hostile place because you're having a bad day. But, it's misunderstandings are just the breeding ground for dissension, division, all kinds of negative things. I think misunderstanding is also a parking bay for hurt and offense. If something is just sort of, even if something is done and it's misunderstood, someone might be incredibly busy and they rush into the space where you are and maybe they don't greet you because they are focused on what they need to be doing, what they need to be saying. And that can be quite hurtful because the misunderstanding is often, why did the person ignore me? When in essence, they didn't ignore you. They're just so full of what they're full of. But the misunderstanding can be a parking bay for hurt and offense. It can separate friends. It can pull people out of their communities. People can have a misunderstanding and actually cause such a rift to the degree that they can no longer remain in their community. It can replace truth with lies. So where there's been a misunderstanding, there can be a lot of speculation, and speculation isn't truth. And so if you take the example I gave where someone maybe doesn't greet you because they're just so focused on their own stuff, and you can think they're mad at me or I've done something wrong, or and then your inner narrative can become all about how you've messed up and the friendship's over, and when in essence it was just an honest oversight on the part of the person. Misunderstanding can divide what God wants to unite. Let's look at an example where maybe there's correction given to a child, correction given in a family context, in a work context. And, the person can maybe take offense at the correction and feel slighted, feel undermined. And I've seen people leave churches over that. I've seen people leave jobs over that. And so the misunderstanding has separated where God planted that person to be. Misunderstanding can create confusion and it can isolate people. Often where there's misunderstanding, there's lots of gaps where there's a lack of information. And where there's a lack of information, our inner narrative is often so good at filling in the gaps with mistruths, which are often built on speculation, which often builds these massive issues that in reality actually aren't there. It can cause misunderstanding, can cause people to question friendships, to question loyalties. You know, sometimes we'll take one incident totally out of context and we use the one incident to erase all the good. So if someone does one thing out of context or out of character, we can't use that to just eradicate all the good conversations you've had or all the years of loyal friendship you've had. Don't let isolated incidents erase everything, but misunderstanding can lead to that. Misunderstanding can leave doubts unanswered, and it can cause offense to fester. So if you think about misunderstanding, it's a very common thing, but it's quite catastrophic in the damage that it does. It creates so much collateral damage. It's incredibly powerful, and it can actually put people in places where they were never meant to be. It can put someone in a place of isolation. It can put someone in a place out of God's will and plan for their lives. It can put someone in a place of coming under condemnation. It can put someone in a place of feeling undermined, of feeling undervalued. It can put someone in a place where they feel invisible. So tonight I really felt convicted about addressing what a lot of people kind of overlook, but it's almost like a silent killer for me. And I think we need to recognize misunderstanding, but then we need to neutralize its power. And let's look at Joseph in the Bible. Joseph, as you know, was sold by his brothers into slavery. He ends up in the house of Potiphar, where he becomes the overseer of Potiphar's home. He's given a leadership position. He would have managed the running of the home. He would have been a right-hand person to Potiphar. And then Potiphar's wife had her intentions set on Joseph, and Joseph didn't want to meet those intentions because they were inappropriate. So she creates a misunderstanding, implying that Joseph was out to attack her. And as a result, through a misunderstanding, Joseph ends up in prison. So if you look at it, let's see how Joseph handled the misunderstanding. And it was a big deal for him because his reputation was tarnished. He lost his position. He was put in a very dark place physically, dark place emotionally, dark place spiritually, all because of a misunderstanding. People sided with Potiphar's wife, and it was almost like all of his credibility, all of his good stewardship, all of his integrity was erased with that one misunderstanding. But he didn't allow it to send him to a place of wallowing in his pain. I'm sure he must have felt pretty rubbish. I think he must have felt hurt. He must have, there must have been elements of this is not cool, but he didn't sit in that. If you look at when he was in prison, again, he rises to a leadership position. He's put in charge of the prisoners. There's no ways he could have done that if he was wallowing in self-pity and anger and frustration and bitterness and resentment and revenge. No, he didn't do that. He actually came in with the opposite spirit. Sure, he would have felt stuff, but he didn't live there. He decided to come in and just be Joseph. He continued to be Joseph. No bitterness, no revenge, no trying to prove himself. You know, sometimes when there's been a misunderstanding, you can feel, I've got to prove myself to the world or to the person concerned. Joseph didn't do that. He just let his life tell his story. He carried on being a person of integrity. He carried on being close to God. He carried on serving. And the Lord elevated him to another position of leadership. He let his upstanding character silence the misunderstanding. He never ever tried to defend himself. He came into prison with his reputation tarnished, but he let his character and his life story speak louder than the voice of self-defense. That's a big one, because so often we want to trip into defending ourselves. And in all of that, in that space, God grew him, and God elevated him, and God vindicated him, and God prepared him for the position where he would become second in command to Pharaoh over Egypt and lead his people, the Israelites, through a famine. So, you know, if you look at misunderstanding happens to all of us, we will all get to a point where we're blamed or judged, and it's uncalled for. There's no evidence, and the bottom line is, come in with the opposite spirit. Let who you are and your character rise above misunderstanding. Let your life tell its story and come in with the opposite spirit. When we do that, we neutralize misunderstanding. We close the gap it tries to cause. You know, misunderstanding didn't have the power to move Joseph from where God wanted him to be. If you look at Joseph, would never have chosen to be sold into slavery, into a strange nation. But God used the rough and the smooth to develop who Joseph was. I mean, he was in Potiphar's house, great environment. We would have had beautiful amenities in the home. Then, poof, on the opposite end of the ladder where he's now in a dark place. But every space, he let his character shine through. He let his good stewardship shine through. And that's what elevated and grew him and positioned him and drew him and kept him close to God. So don't allow misunderstandings to separate you from people and places where your future may be calling. The enemy loves creating misunderstandings between people that are strategic. What are strategic misunderstandings? Misunderstandings that happen within the context of a family. The enemy loves dividing families, and how often are families divided over a misunderstanding? I know families where, you know, siblings or whoever aren't talking in the family, and it's been like that for years. And I ask them, why is there the division? They actually can't remember. So they've allowed division to have the power over their lives to cause separation. I've seen people in friendships, same kind of situation. Misunderstanding is incredibly powerful, but we have the authority to neutralize it. And I'm going to say it again, come in with the opposite spirit. Deal with the things that can separate us from people and from God, from destiny. So, for example, misunderstanding is going to cause unforgiveness and resentment and hurt and bitterness, but deal with it. Deal with that stuff in your life. Come to the Lord with it. Admit it's there, and it's like, Lord, help me process this and work through it and forgive the person concerned, because I don't want misunderstanding to separate me from the people I need to know, the places I need to be in, and the destiny that I was birthed for. So don't spend your life trying to prove yourself. Spend your life pleasing God. We'll never please people. If someone has jumped to a wrong conclusion about who you are, and that happens so often, you know, people will make their own assumptions about the kind of person you are. They may have misread something you said. Don't spend your life trying to prove to them who you really are. Just let your life talk to them. Just be you. You live to please God. You live to serve Him. And in doing that, we neutralize misunderstanding. How often was Jesus misunderstood? He came to save the world. How many people rejected him? How many people labeled him as a false prophet, stoned him, crucified him? But he didn't let that deter him from being the person he was called to be, from living in the destiny that was ascribed to him. So maybe tonight for you, the challenge is you maybe need to neutralize misunderstanding and actually close the gap that's possibly existing between you and a person. Maybe there's a misunderstanding between you and God. Maybe you feel that God hasn't heard you, hasn't answered a prayer, or you feel overlooked by God, maybe you need to deal with that tonight. Neutralize misunderstanding. Don't give it permission to separate and to have authority over your life. And so I hope that tonight has been encouraging, but make it a lifestyle. We're going to be misunderstood all the time. And you know what? So what? Deal with it. Your focus is to, Lord, I just want to be close to you. I just want to hear what you have to say regarding me and who I am and where I need to be and how can I serve people. Lord, use the misunderstanding to teach me humility. Use the misunderstanding to teach me how to rise above circumstances in you so that I can come in with the opposite spirit. So maybe tonight as we land, know that you're seen. God sees you. He knows your name. He knows the hurt that maybe you've been through. And maybe just have a chat to him about it and ask him to just give you the ability in him to rise above it and to keep moving forward, to keep on claiming ground for his kingdom. Keep shining your light out to people, even when it's misunderstood. Be encouraged. Jesus showed us how to do it. He's given us people like Joseph to show us how to do it. And remember, in all of these things, you're just growing up and moving forward and becoming a better version of you so that you can reflect a better version of him to others. So be encouraged. Take heart this Tuesday, the 2nd day of July. Take heart and be encouraged. Can't wait to see you next Tuesday for our second Stand Alone 25 minutes of power. Have a great week. Take care. God bless everyone. Bye.